If you could pick one idea, being that this is an ideas festival of sorts, that one idea that if this one thing could change, you feel would perhaps start the domino effect of being able to help the country better utilize its people, what would you pick?
School vouchers. This is one of my pet projects, and not just mine. We have a core group of parliamentarians who think that school vouchers are going to make a huge impact. Because if you look at the school system, we spend a huge amount of money on it, and yet the returns that we get are simply grossly inadequate. And that's simply because we are stuck in a sort of immediate post-colonial frame of mind that education is something that the government must provide. And we aren't yet able to make a shift to the new paradigm that it remains the government's responsibility to facilitate and to make it happen, but not necessarily to run the system itself. Now, there have been pilot projects, and they have proven extremely encouraging. I have seen results of certain NGO-run schools in slum areas in Mumbai and other places, and you compare it to the government schools that are next door. The only area that they suffer from is that they have virtually no infrastructure. But whether it's academics, whether it's on any other score, including employability, they score far better. So if I were to pick just one idea, I know, of course, we need dozens of ideas, but just one, I'd pick school vouchers. I think it would totally revolutionize the ROI that we get on the spend that we have on education.
Excellent. Tushar, Amit, Sanjeev?
I'd give a really broad brush answer and then drill down. I would say governance. I said it's a broad brush because it encompasses everything. But unless you can get governance right, you cannot get education right. You cannot get the introduction of women into the labor force right. You can't get urbanization right. You can't get any of these other issues that have been so well raised by Amit and the rest of the panel. You cannot solve them without good governance. What I mean is transparency. What I mean is accountability. What I also mean is that allowing an institutional framework to develop rather than a personality-based or a leader-based framework. This is an issue which we can debate all day and all night, but I think it is the one big idea which needs to be done is a prerequisite for any sort of reform which would give us this demographic dividend.
I may come back to you to ask you a specific on,
Absolutely.
on how you might actually have governance change, but before that I'll come to Sanjeev.
I was going to actually add to that because I think the last 15 years of growth that we have seen is really unique in world history in that we have generated this 15 years of growth based on a rather small group of people, which is the middle class, white-collar job-based growth. And I think what you now need is a much more generalized system of growth. But this generalized system of growth really needs a framework, an institutional framework, where contracts are honored and there is some degree of systemic trust, to take jobs to Bihar, to Chhattisgarh, and so on. And I think that has that requires a certain degree of governance and institutions of governance, including the judicial system in particular, which is necessary to be put in place such that jobs can be created for these hundreds of millions of people. We cannot expect enclaves in Bombay, Delhi, or even the SEZs to do the job. We need a generalized system of trust and reliable rules that are enforced in order to be able to generate these hundreds of millions of jobs.
Great.
So Anand, as much as talking to this audience as I answer your question, I also want to talk to that gentleman called Mr. Subbiah, sitting on the corner table, whom the government of India has just trusted with 15,000 crores to create 20 crore more jobs. If you guys don't know, Mr. Subbiah is the former chairman of Murugappa Group. So I think my answer still is that there has to be an entrepreneurial system of skills development. There's a huge opportunity here. We have to stop thinking about that India will just be a knowledge economy. We only got to create white-collared workers and great managers. I think we have to reignite manufacturing. We have to have skills development at every level, especially at blue-collared and gray-collared level. And this is a great entrepreneurial opportunity where you don't have to depend on the government. Everyone sitting in this room could be an entrepreneur, start a little things in their own city, in their own state, and be developing skills in people. Now, this will be possible with some facilitation. Now that structure is in place, National Skills Development Authority just got set up with Mr. Subbiah is chairing. There will be a system which will allow people to get separate assessment, get content, to be able to and if entrepreneurs do not come up to seize this opportunity, this will be a good idea which will not be able to create the kind of jobs it is supposed to create. Most importantly, I think as we think about creating these 20 crore more jobs, we need a place where the skills development can happen. And the other thing which I hope Mr. Subbiah can take up is the SEZ should start standing for special education zones. And some states are already doing it, but that will be a very important idea so that we can take young entrepreneurs, take this, the power in the young people here and create entrepreneurial opportunities for skills development.
I just want to add something, and I want to address this to the many young people I see in the audience. This frustration about poor governance is something that I hear a lot, and that's one of the reasons I got involved in politics. I'm not from a political family, but it was this frustration with poor governance that got me involved. I just want to make a point that I wish there was something we could add to the water in Parliament and in North and South blocks that would make things improve overnight. Unfortunately, there isn't a magic wand, but what we can do and what we need to do is to focus on individual initiatives, and we're going to get there one brick at a time. We aren't going to build a new edifice just overnight. We have been talking about individual specific ideas, and Mr. Subbiah's work is splendid work. I want to just give one last comment here, which is, we've talked about transparency, and if you look at the Transparency International's index worldwide about how India fares as a country in its transactions, it actually keeps inching upwards. It improves gradually. The one area where we are not improving dramatically is something that the Heritage Foundation in the US runs called the Economic Freedom Index. Our transparency index is somewhere in the 70s out of about 150 countries. In terms of economic freedom, we rank about 120, well below our transparency index. So we have a long way to go from where we have come so far since 1991. In enabling the economic freedom that will ensure that we can take advantage of our entrepreneurial abilities.